some of the new observability features in Aegis and how they showcase the architecture. I've got a local app, local Aegis instance running on my laptop, and then one in Amazon. And we'll take a look at some of these menu items here. So thread pools, you notice there aren't any. That's because we haven't started any of the apps. There's an option called preload where you can either start them when a request occurs or right away at startup. The advantage of waiting until a request is that you only start what's needed to be started up faster. The startup's faster. You're only running what you need to run. Let's take a look at models. So we've got order. This is the order application. This is the model specification. So this is some of the source code that's inlined in the model, the spec. Inventory, and two other applications here. This is a WASM demo showing WebAssembly integration. And then this is all from the main thread. If we want to look at the order thread itself, well, we're going to get an error because that doesn't started yet. And data. Let's look at data. Right. So we've got again these four apps and their individual dedicated data sources. And again, no thread yet for orders. So let's create an order. Here you see the progress bar indicating that hot deployment is running. We're actually streaming the code from GitHub. And there's an order for us, UID. And now we'll take a look and see that we've got the order thread pool now is running. We've got a max of 2 threads. That's because the system looks at how many cores are on the box and how many apps you're going to run and divides. And, it splits the cores or threads evenly. 1 thread per core. And divide it up evenly between the applications. And right now, just 1 thread running, set to our min thread. So let's look at the data. So again, we've got these 4 individual data sets. And then if we look at the thread, same thing here, 4 individual data sets. So in the thread is where all the work is done, as far as like writing new data and running the actual application logic, the order application logic. Largely, you're also running these application logic from these applications or modules, but not persisting, or persisting only specific operations. We'll get into that in a bit if there's time. Okay, and we can also see events. So events, we'll see how these are different between the threads. So we've got from mesh. This is an event that is fired when something arrives from the mesh network, from the service mesh. And from worker, that's when the worker is sending some data to the main thread, right? So if we look at the events on the order thread itself, well, we won't see those particular events, but we will see, from main, right? And these are all the handlers for the from main events that are interested when data shows up from the main thread. And then ipso facto, we've got the 2 main. And then some other events here. These are events, workflow events that are consumer or producer port events that control workflow for across applications. All right. So let's go over to the Amazon instance, and we're gonna create a customer. I'm going to copy this ID, and then I'm going to say Then I've got this customer ID, right, and I don't need all of this customer information here. I'll get it from the customer ID, and I'm going to specify a relationship here, relationship to customer, and then here it is. So I'll get back this customer information. Now, this isn't just a database lookup. It's more than that. We're actually streaming the code for a customer, and we are executing methods on the customer object. So not just data. So let's go ahead and look in our observability functions here. So models, we had just 4 before, and we're still going to see just 4 because this is the main thread. But if we look in the order thread, inventory, scheduler, WASM, and customer. This wasn't there before. This is a new application that is loaded during that request, and we'll show the code that causes this to happen in just a second. Let's look at data. So in the main thread, and then here is in the order thread. So you now see that the customer data source has been created, and here's the one record that we imported over the service mesh. So let's go and find the code that runs this, that caused that to happen. Right. Okay. So we're in this function called get customer order. This is a code that's implementing the workflow for the order application. And so one of the first things it's doing is it's looking to see, okay, do I have a customer ID? If I do, then just copy the information from the customer record into the order, right? So this is the user code, right? User has written, the developer has written, order.customer, right? And the reason they've written order.customer, let's look at these models again, and you'll see right here in the relationship section, that the relations section, that there's a specification of a relation here. So that this is the relation name. Here's the model that it's related to, a foreign key, and then a relation type, right? And then a description of that type. So when the system sees that relation, it automatically generates a method by the same name on the model, and so that's available to call, via the REST API or directly from code, like we just saw. Right, and so we can see that. So okay, so we're going to get that data, but not only do we get the data, but we're actually decrypting the information that came over in decrypted format for us, encrypted for us, so that we can actually update the record. And then there's another case too that we'll look at if we have time, where there is no customer record, but we're asking, do we want to save these shipping details that were filled in by a human, which would be a good thing to do so they don't have to do it again. And in that case, we're also calling order.customer, but this time with some arguments, and that's going to go and actually create a customer record for us versus fetching one. So that's what we mean by transparent integration. So it doesn't matter where these components are deployed; they can be co-located and running in the same instance, and this is valid. And as you just saw, they can be remotely deployed from one another, and the same code works. So and so on this side, we should be able to look at the relationship orders, as there's a relationship to orders, and see our orders as well. Right, here they are. Maybe a little bit easier to see like this. right? So uh, customer record here, and then these are the order records, right? And yeah, and then if we create a few more, right, we should be able to see that. Yeah, so here's the additional records. So all that happens automatically. Um, the persistence and the integration. Um, let's go and look at the thread again, just to show you that there is a relationship on customer. Right. This is okay. So this we're seeing the order object in the Amazon server, right? So the order they imported each other's apps, right, to be able to access each other. So again, all that's happening dynamically. We'll see that we've just got a thread pool here, and this is a pretty small server, just maxed out at 1. Okay, so we'll stop here and get set up for uh, the next exercise.